Welcome back. Now let's take a look at some of the top stories from war-torn Iran and Israel. Well, eyewitnesses have recorded these footages and it shows how thick plumes of smoke was rising next to a refinery plant in Haifa in Israel yesterday. Search and location operations were underway in Haifa where around 30 people were wounded, emergency authorities said, as dozens of first responders rushed to the strike zones. Now, the fire trucks were seen at a major oil refinery in Israel's northern city of Haifa just a few hours after an Iranian barrage of missiles hit various locations across the country, including Haifa. Israel's oil refinery said its pipelines and transmission lines in Haifa had been damaged by Iranian missile strikes. It said that no injuries or casualties, although, were reported at the sites. Emergency crew and fire trucks responded to an Iranian missile attack on Tel Aviv, which left widespread destruction across various buildings. Israeli military said it had detected more missiles launched from Iran towards Israel. At least 10 people in Israel, including children, have been killed so far. Israel's main international airport remained closed for departures and arrivals as its military and Iran are trading strikes. Airspace over Israel closed on Friday after Israel unleashed airstrikes across Iran. Israel closed its main international hub, Ben Gurion Airport, until further notice, and it left over 50,000 stranded abroad. With the ongoing conflict with Israel, the Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said that his country has no intention to develop nuclear weapons, but it will pursue its right to nuclear energy and research. Long-standing foes, Israel and Iran continue to trade missiles in their ongoing conflict. Israel has struck an Iranian refueling aircraft at Mashhad Airport in eastern Iran, approximately 2,300 kilometers from Israel. This is Israel's longest-range strike since the beginning of the Operation Rising Lion. And while Israel targeted Tehran, Iran launched a new salvo of ballistic missiles towards Israel, targeting Tel Aviv and Haifa. Israel has intercepted 370 ballistic missiles fired by Iran, but US President Donald Trump says that the region will soon have peace. Trump has said that he will get Iran and Israel to make a deal, the same way he got India and Pakistan to make a deal through trade. Trump added that he does a lot but never gets any credit for it. Sources also say that Trump vetoed an Israeli plan in recent days to kill Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has claimed that Iran's nuclear weapons are an existential threat to Israel, and Israel has started a war against threat of annihilation. On the other hand, Iran has said their defense is in response to Israel's violation and that the Iranian response will stop when Israel halts its attack on Iran.
אנחנו פה כי אנחנו במערכה קיומית שהיום מובנת לכל אזרחי ישראל. תחשבו מה יקרה אם לאיראן יהיה נשק אטומי להנחית על ערי ישראל. תחשבו מה יקרה אם לאיראן היה 20,000 טילים כאלה. לא אחד, 20,000 כאלה. זה איום קיומי על ישראל. ולכן יצאנו למלחמת הצלה נגד איום השמדה כפול, ואנחנו עושים את זה באון. חיילינו, טייסינו, מעל שמי איראן. איראן תשלם מחיר יקר מאוד על רצח אזרחים, נשים, ילדים, שהם עשו בכוונה תחילה. אנחנו גם נשיג את יעדינו וגם ננחית עליהם מכה אחת אפיים. הם ירגישו את נחת זרוענו.
ما خواهان گسترش جنگ نیستیم مگر اینکه به ما تحمیل بشه. ما خواهان گسترش این جنگ به کشورهای دیگه و یا به منطقه نیستیم مگر اینکه تحمیل بشه. ما اصولا خواهان این جنگ نبودیم. ما مشغول اجرای دیپلماسی در خصوص برنامه هستی خودمون بودیم. ولی این تجاوز به ما تحمیل شد. ما از خودمون دفاع میکنیم، دفاع کاملا مشروع هست، با اقتدار دفاع میکنیم و این دفاع ما در پاسخ به تجاوز هست. لذا اگر تجاوز متوقف بشه طبیعی است که واکنش‌های ما هم متوقف میشه.
Well, I hope there's going to be a deal. I think it's time for a deal, and we'll see what happens. But sometimes they have to fight it out. But we're going to see what happens. I think there's a good chance there'll be a deal.
I spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu today. I reiterated Europe's commitment to peace and stability in the Middle East. In this context, Israel has the right to defend itself. Iran is the principal source of regional instability, and we've always been very clear. Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. We have voiced our strong concerns over Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile program. A diplomatic solution remains the best way in the long run to address concerns about Iran's nuclear program. And Europe remains committed to finding a lasting solution through a negotiated deal.
Now, amidst this ongoing Israel versus Iran war, Iran seems to have dragged Pakistan into West Asia war. Iran's National Security Council member and IRGC General Mohsen Rezai claimed that Pakistan assured nuclear retaliation against Israel if Iran was attacked. Pakistan, however, has denied this claim. Pakistan said that the world was aware of Israel's nuclear prowess and that it does not pursue hegemonic policies against its neighbors. Now, the Israel-Iran conflict is escalating with each passing day. Both countries are retaliating to each other's attacks. Take a look at the traded missiles and airstrikes, which are putting the world on edge.
Dozens were reported dead after Israel and Iran unleashed fresh missile attacks on Saturday. Buildings were reduced to ruins on both sides and people hid in shelters as the crossfire continued. It began after Israel launched a large-scale attack on Iran early on Friday. The army released this footage of what it says was a barrage, which Israel said was aimed at military targets to prevent Iran from building a nuclear weapon. Iran vowed to avenge the Friday attacks, and Israel's defense minister threatens to make Tehran, quote, burn after Iran's retaliatory strikes hit Israeli neighborhoods. At least 3 people in Israel were killed overnight, while Iran's state TV reported around 60 people had died in an Israeli attack on a Tehran housing complex. One of the city's residents said a strike on his home was so powerful the explosion threw him up against the ceiling. Meanwhile, Israel kept the occupied West Bank under lockdown for a second day during these strikes. The Israeli army closed off entrances to various cities and towns there using iron gates and dirt mounds, as Palestinians expressed concern for being locked in. US President Donald Trump has lauded Israel's strikes and warned Iran of much worse to come. That's unless Iran accepts the sharp downgrading of its nuclear program demanded by the US in talks. Israel says its operation could last weeks and has urged Iran's people to rise up against their clerical rulers. It sparked fears of a further regional conflict dragging in outside powers, with global economic and financial repercussions.
So clearly the West Asia region is back in turmoil with a major military confrontation between long-standing rivals Israel and Iran. Both the countries are bombing key assets of each other, causing destruction and affecting civilian life. Let's take a look. Well, projectiles flew over the northern Israeli city of Haifa. Smoke rose over the horizon on the third night of hostilities between Iran and Israel. Following an explosion in Haifa, Israel was intercepting more projectiles over Tel Aviv. Israeli paramedics rushed to Haifa after explosions were heard in the area following missiles launched from Israel. Israel and Iran launched fresh attacks on each other, killing scores of civilians and raising fears of a wider conflict. A new salvo of missiles was seen streaking through the sky above Tel Aviv as sirens blared and missiles from the ground shot up to be intercepted. And explosions were heard as the dark sky was flooded with balls of light emitted from the missiles. A new wave of Iranian missiles and drones hit many parts of Israel in the north, center and the south, with direct hits on multi-story buildings in Petah Tikva. A number of Israelis were injured and others were trapped under the rubble. Israel continued to attack Iran's capital Tehran from the air amid wider airstrikes. Footage shows an explosion and plumes of smoke visible in a view over the city's skyline. Blasts shook Tehran around noon. Iran's Revolutionary Guard reported one strike in the area of Wali Asr Square, downtown, and another in a neighborhood named for the Air Force, which is headquartered there. Israeli army released a video which showed a strike on a military site in the Iranian capital of Tehran. Israel and Iran launched fresh attacks on each other, killing scores of civilians and raising fears of a wider conflict. The Israeli Air Force identified and eliminated surface-to-air missile launch troops seconds before they launched a launcher south of the Tehran city. The troops were eliminated and the launcher was dismantled. Israeli Defense Forces precisely struck command centers belonging to the Quds force of the IRGC and the Iranian military. In these command centers, Quds operatives advanced terrorist attacks against the state of Israel using proxies of the Iranian regime in the Middle East, according to Israel. Now, India is considering launching an evacuation operation for its citizens in Iran amid escalating tensions in the region. Iran has granted permission for foreign nationals, including Indians, to exit through its land borders. India is exploring potential evacuation routes via Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, and Afghanistan. Around 10,000 Indian nationals are currently in Iran, the majority of whom are students studying at various medical and religious institutions. The urgency has grown following intensified Israeli airstrikes across Iran. Explosions have been reported just a few kilometers from student accommodations, prompting distressed calls to the Indian government.
After facing all this, having a point of view is थोड़ा disturbing क्योंकि हमें ऐसा लगता है कि अगर ये conflict हो भी रहा है तो it's between Iran and Israel and we are Indian students here and we are appealing कि I know it is possible for Indian government to help us, they can evacuate us. जब यूक्रेन में war हो रहा था they did उन लोगों ने यानी ceasefire की डिमांड की थी I think if I'm not wrong and उन लोगों ने evacuate किया था बच्चों को. हम चाहते हैं कि please हमें भी इस time पे करें क्योंकि ये एक दो अलग कंट्री के बीच का वॉर है एंड इसमें इंडियन स्टूडेंट्स यहाँ पे फंसे हैं जो कि अच्छी बात नहीं है एंड वी रियली वांट हेल्प फ्रॉम इंडिया.
In the past few days, all the Arab countries called and said we support you. Pakistan said if Israel wants to drop a nuclear bomb, we will drop a nuclear bomb on Israel. The feelings of Muslims in the region will be extremely high. The stronger we act, the more our people will act in solidarity with the armed forces. We will cross this pass. On the other side, there will be an ocean of political, military, economic progress, God willing, in front of our nation.
Our children are there, had gone for studies, medical studies. तो वहाँ पर बच्चे कल रात से काफ़ी ट्रॉमेटाइज्ड हैं. जो कल से स्ट्राइक्स हुई हैं वो इतनी हैवी स्ट्राइक्स हुई हैं. अगर इवैक्यूएशन इमीडिएटली नहीं पॉसिबल, एयर स्पेस नहीं मिल रही है तो फिलहाल उनको ऐसी लोकेशन पर ले चले जहाँ पर उनको बेटर मतलब शेल्टर्स मिले. बंकर नहीं है वहाँ पर. इफ यू गो इनटू द पास्ट ऑलरेडी सच ऑपरेशंस हैव बीन कैरिड आउट और डिफिकल्ट से डिफिकल्ट सर्कमस्टांसेस में एंड आवर गवर्नमेंट इज हैविंग वेरी गुड रिलेशंस विद गवर्नमेंट ऑफ ईरान एंड दे कैन रिक्वेस्ट देम और रिक्वेस्ट से इनको सेफ कॉरिडोर दिया जाए ताकि उनको लाए.
हमारे बच्चे ईरान में पढ़ते हैं. पिछले 3 दिनों से ना वो सोए हैं ना हम सोए हैं. तो हालात वहाँ कशीदा है। हम एलजी साहब से, सीएम साहब से मोदबाना अपील करते हैं कि किसी तरह से हमारे बच्चों को वापस लाया जाए। अगर ऐसा मुमकिन नहीं है, हालात की वजह से, एयर स्पेस बंद होने की वजह से कम उनको सेफर प्लेस पे ले। हमें अपनी हिंदुस्तान गवर्नमेंट पे, बिलखुसूस हमारी स्टेट गवर्नमेंट पे पूरा भरोसा है कि वो ऐसा कर सकते हैं और वो करेंगे भी। लेकिन बीइंग अ पेरेंट हमसे अब रहा नहीं जा रहा है।
मेरी बेटी है, 3rd ईयर है, शहीद बेचती मैं। कल से पैनिक अटैक ऐसे गिर रही है, कोई फोन नहीं, नेटवर्क भी बंद, सारा कुछ नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। वो बोल रहे हैं कि बस हम गए, अब हमें कोई उम्मीद नहीं है कि हम दोबारा आप लोगों को देखेंगे। हमें क्यों नहीं कर रहे? इंडिया गवर्नमेंट कर सकती है, क्यों नहीं एक कॉरिडोर निकाल सकते, उनको इवैक्यूएट करवाए एज सून एज पॉसिबल। और हमें कुछ नहीं, हम एलजी साहब से रिक्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, हम मोदी साहब से हैंड फोल्ड रिक्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं, हमारे बच्चों को इवैक्यूएट करवाए एज सून एज पॉसिबल।